Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. An unboxing video, but it's not orchids, but it is orchid related. It's supplies. The guy next door to me is a postie, and he often pops home for breakfast. He sometimes works in the depot, sometimes he's out on the rounds on foot, or sometimes he does the van deliveries. He does all sorts. But if he's around the depot and he sees a parcel for me and he's popping home for breakfast, he brings it with him, you know, to save somebody making a special trip, especially as the box is quite large. So this turned up before I was up and about, really. Nonetheless, it's here now. So let's get it open. I was surprised it's in such a big box, given what it is. And unfortunately, it's really well taped up, so I don't know how easy this is going to be to get open, but we will see. Luckily it's only got newspaper in, so we're not going to make a mess. Can you tell what it is yet? I really don't think this needed such a big box. Right, what we've got here is some pieces of bark. Now this guy I bought this from has his own cork bark plantation. It's either in Spain or Portugal, I forget which. So this is bark collected sustainably from his own trees. Well, this has got lichen, however you want to. I like to call it lichen because lichen has other tones to it, shall we say, and we don't want those turning up on the next full moon, do we? Nonetheless, I'm trying this out to see what I get for my money. Quite honestly, if I was going to Burnham's Orchid Nursery, I would get my cork there. They have a bin in the sales area, or a cage I could call it, with lots and lots of cork bark in, of all shapes, sizes, thicknesses. And I went for gnarly pieces with the curve on them, you know, yeah, so the root plants can grow around rather than just dead flat. That's a good piece. There should be 3 in here, I think I ordered. Yeah, that's why the box was so big. I'd forgotten one piece was quite large. Yeah, so these can be cut. Obviously I'm not going to use that as a mount in its entirety, but I mean that will make 4 mounts. It could even make 6 smaller ones, but you have to remember with cork bark it is a very thick type of bark, and a small mount that's thicker than it is wide doesn't quite look so good. It still works, don't get me wrong. So yeah, a few orchid supplies. These are not ridiculously expensive, but he hasn't got a mechanism to combine postage on his eBay page, so you have to pay the postage that goes with each piece. I got that smaller piece because it's thin, yeah? So this will cut up into several small mounts. So that bit probably is of no use sticking out the end there, but it came with it. There's not much I can do about that. So 3 new pieces of cork bark. And the reason I need some is that the only pieces of cork bark that I've got left, last time I went to get a piece, they live out in the shed at the moment, and they've got damp and they've started to rot, so they crumble very easily. So I'm not so keen on using that now, because I mean cork bark lasts ages before it starts to rot or break down or crumble. It's a very sturdy, inert thing to use, with crevices and crannies for roots to get a good hold, so it does work really well. But as I said, if I had the choice and I was going to Burnham's in the near future, which I'm not, I don't think, I'd have waited and got some there. But the only bark mounts, if I choose to mount something at the moment, I haven't got anything. The English oak bark that I collected quite a long time ago from fallen trees out in the forest. That was a fun day out because it chucked it down. I got absolutely soaking right through to my underwear. That's a good way to catch a chill, as it was winter time. That's starting to fail now. It's starting to show signs of age, starting to get a bit crumbly, but the beauty of it is it's lovely and thin, and it makes really good small mounts for things like Tolumnias and stuff, so I may have to go and get some more of that. I'll go on a dry day next time. But the cork bark, obviously you can't grow this in this country because the trees won't survive, but yeah, 2 big pieces that can be cut into smaller pieces if necessary. As I say, I'm expecting to get 4 out of that. I can cut that down the middle and then across there and get 4 nice mounts out of that piece. This piece may well make 2 larger ones, or possibly 3. The slightly narrower part, that would make a good mount at the top for a reasonable sized orchid, and then the bit down the bottom could be split into 2 or whatever. And then this piece I'm expecting to cut into quite small pieces to use for small mounts. The reason? I've probably got some Tolumnias coming in the not too distant future, and I need something to mount them on. They're being looked after by somebody for me at the moment, and they should turn up at the Christmas do. So that'd be a nice little Christmas present. I think there's 4 or 5 new Tolumnias to come. Anyway, some new cork bark. The eBay seller is called Honey72. So if you go onto eBay and just put a search in for cork bark, and then look down the list and look for the seller, Honey72, and then click on see other items, you get about 12 pages, yeah, I'm not mucking about, of all sorts of cork bark, from branches to tunnels to flats, all different sizes. Some pieces are nearly as tall as a door. The photograph is of each individual piece. You know exactly which piece you're buying. So it's not a bad sight if you've got no other way of finding cork bark. At least you get to see the picture, and normally there is, he either uses a door to get the scale of the size of the pieces, because some of them are huge and cost a fortune. I mean, you know, some pieces he's got for sale are 120 quid, and then there's the postage and the chance of it breaking. But the smaller pieces like this have always got a 30 centimetre ruler stood next to them, so you can see what you're getting, which I like. That's as near as you can get, apart from hand picking it from somewhere, which in the case of me, the only place I've ever seen some reasonable cork for sale is at Burnham's. And if I was going there, that's what I'd have chosen to do. Anyway, some new cork bark to play with. That'll last ages now because that's relatively new. And that's the eBay seller. At the moment on that web page there is only postage quoted for the UK. If you don't live in the UK and you live in other parts of the world, you have to apply to get a quote for the postage. So it's a bit of a pain if you're not in the UK, but for me that worked fine. So pleased with that, something to play with. See you next time. And the other thing I forgot to say, from now on this will get stored in the house where it stays dry. That way it's just going to not even start to age effectively until I come to use it. So there's years and years worth of life in these sort of pieces. So yeah, no more damp stuff out in the shed, and all sorts of creepy crawlies getting in the crevices. I would still sterilise this before I used it, and all I do to sterilise bark is put it in the sink and pour boiling water over it. I don't think anything survives that, and being water it gets down into every little crevice and nook and cranny and make sure there's nothing living on it before I use it. I do let it cool down or rinse it in cold water first, obviously. Don't want to put your roots on something that's near boiling point. See you next time.